technology effectively early on.
And I think it should be a standard interview question that every hiring manager is taught to ask that's relevant to the role they're hiring. That just do you think AI is applicable to this role? If so, how? So ask the candidate to sort of start to give you some ideas about how they think they might be actually able to embed this. Our copywriter, because of the way it was introduced to the business, it came as a complete shock to him. He'd heard about it, he tried it, and he got a wonderful set of results, and we then encapsulated it in business process. We're in a position now where we're sufficiently far down the track that we can actually preset those ideas. You will be using an AI tool when you come and work for us. The parameters, again, policy within HR is super critical to you for you defining this correctly. The GDPR statements, the policy statements, we've had to update all of our handbooks to account for the fact that we are bringing virtual assistants into the business. So there's a whole bunch of policy that sits around it as well. But as you've got, and I think open-mindedness is key, but get your hiring managers to ask a question that is AI related to the role they're hiring for. Let's just see what you get back.
So I agree with this in one dimension, in terms of being open-minded about the possibilities of the technology and where it could go and the acceptance of it. But it does, I think, need to be balanced with some skepticism, only because the outputs of models today are inaccurate, they hallucinate, they're biased, and if we don't have a dose of skepticism about what some of this technology is producing, then I think we could quite quickly go down a slippery slope. So it needs to be balanced with a dose of skepticism in that particular context, not in the context of the possibility, the art of the possible.
Any thoughts from John?
Yeah, I think one of the things that we are always really keen to ask about when we're hiring is just how much interest does that person really have in AI and in LLMs in particular, which is important to us. So what are the research papers that they've read? Which models would they like to test that they haven't yet? Things like that. Just trying to get to that level of understanding and interest of that person. Again, this is when you're hiring for quite technical people, so they need to have that. But I think even for non-technical people, what are they aware of that's in the space that could help them in their role? And do they have that awareness? Because it may not be AI that takes their job, but the person who knows how to use AI will do better at their job than that person who doesn't. So again, understanding that awareness is probably quite important if I was hiring, I think.
I think the problem of asking applicants if they are interested in AI is that everyone will say they are, but I'm sure not everybody is. So would you put any measures in place to sift out those who aren't that interested? Right?
I think just tell me about which tools you're thinking of using to make your role.
So more specific questions.
Yeah, exactly. Just asking for a bit of proof. Because like you say, I think a lot of people would just say, yeah, sure, we are interested, but what does that translate into in your day-to-day? And that's the thing, if they've been thinking about it, and they genuinely are, they'll have a few things that they can say off the back of that.
Yeah.
I have a question. From the
question.
point of view of technicality, how the AI works, how AI looks for the solution of a problem you prompted to solve, how AI does the patterns. Do you think this knowledge is important?
For technical people?
Yeah, 100%.
But not for prompt engineering, per se.
Yeah, prompt engineering is a kind of weird category that kind of sits in between. I think the sort of people that we would hire who would be doing a lot of prompting, I would definitely also expect them to either want to learn or to have that knowledge already. But again, that's because probably a good 80% of their day is going to be prompting and doing that kind of engineering. So yeah, for that kind of role, it's important.
Because whatever happens with the AI further on, the basics, they will still remain the basics. So people who know the basics, from my point of view, they would be more open-minded to learn the development of the AI in the future.
Yeah, that's right. I think to take engineers as an example, a great engineer today will be an even better engineer in 2 years' time if they've got mastery of large language models, other types of AI as well, and are using those tools to make themselves more productive. You know, if you take engineers as a job, their jobs will change because, for example, you know, lots of time documenting code almost completely goes away. You don't need to do it anymore. You have a thinking partner to think about how you're going to engineer a solution to a problem that you maybe didn't have before. So there's all sorts of things that change, but kind of, you know, those fundamentals that, for example, make you a great engineer continue to be the case now. And I think as you look across other roles, whatever the role happens to be, where language plays a strong part in it, or using a different branch of AI where analytics play a strong part in it, then 100% those skills still apply as much in the world of AI as they did before. However, if you've got someone who's a great performer today but is incredibly resistant to kind of using that, then they're not going to be.
So the BA role, the business analyst role, is a good example for this. In the food distribution business, we have a decade's worth of data. We know how many ice creams we've sold in Bristol for the past 10 years on any given weekend. So the BA role traditionally would say, right, given historic data and what we think is going to happen in Bristol, then we can predict that we're going to need to buy this many ice creams and put this many on a truck and get them out there. The thinking now is actually, well, it's going to be really bad weather in Bristol this weekend. And there's 2 events happening, one in Bath and one further down the road. So there'll be a bunch of people who might not be in Bristol this weekend. So whereas in the past you had a linear view of the data, historic, now you can prompt it with, if the weather is going to be this and this event is happening, then tell me what you think ice cream sales in Bristol will be this weekend. So the BA role, I think, is quite an interesting one, because the open-minded individual will go, well, actually I can source weather data, I can source social media data,